If you enjoyed today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel. When you do, make sure you hit the notification bell. That means that you will be informed of when a new video has been released. If you would like to take that support one step further, you can do that via Patreon, which is an optional monthly service. You can donate money towards the channel, or you can go over to Ko-fi.com, and for the price of a coffee you can help donate towards the channel as well. Links for all of those will be in the description of the video, and without further ado, enjoy the video. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you happen to be listening and watching another SIL interview, and I'm delighted to be able to say that today I am joined by Melton United joint manager Jerome Laidlaw. Jerome, Jay, how are you doing, mate? You well?
I'm very good, thank you, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Apart from the fact that my hair is growing at an exponential rate, and it's so long, it's starting to curl at the back now. It's ridiculous. But yeah, other than that, I'm very well. I'm very well. How have you been adjusting to life in lockdown, and what's it been like without the regular fix of football for you?
Painful to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saturdays have certainly been a miss. It's always nice to have something, like football to look forward to. If it's not just the playing, it's certainly the camaraderie, the banter, and everything else that goes along with it as well.
Yeah.
Personally, in terms of lockdown, to be fair, actually, life has continued very much the same due to the job that I do.
Right.
I work in care. I manage care homes in Colchester. So I've very much just kind of kept to the same kind of patterns and routines, but it's just been a little bit more restricted, as specifically as just been work home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Fair enough. From your point of view, then, talking about the season that's finished, so to speak, rather abruptly, from yourself at the club, a very, very successful season on the pitch, and as a newly formed team, you were unbeaten in the league, in the
Yeah.
semi-final of the Primary Cup. I mean, for a debut season, it really doesn't get much better than that, does it really? How do you kind of reflect on things now that there's been a few weeks and months to kind of, digest the news? Is it, are you happy about things, like, because being unbeaten to that point, you probably would have wanted to see that through. I don't know. What are you feeling?
Ultimately, for me, I'm more disappointed and more gutted for the lads, because their hard work, their effort, their level of commitment won't get the recognition that it ultimately deserves.
Right.
The guys were fantastic throughout the season. Their attitudes, their focus, their love for the game really, put us into a position where we were undefeated. We were top of the league. We were 4 points clear. We were outscoring teams, 2-3, 4-0. But that came with like the passion. That came with everybody having a central goal of wanting to make it a really successful season.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had reached the semi-finals of the Primary Cup as well. And again, I feel sorry for the lads, essentially because a lot of them have been involved in local football for a long time, and they've also reached the final of the Junior Cup as well, with AFC Kesgrove a couple of seasons ago, of which we actually won.
Yeah.
Which was a great game against I think it was Trimley Red Devils, where we came back from 2-0 down and won 3-2 overall. So and it was a great opportunity to get back to Portman Road again, so that we can experience that. And for some of the newer lads who had come on board as well, with the Melton United project, that they hopefully could have experienced that also.
Yeah.
So all in all, I feel, yeah, it's certainly definitely gutted, from a management perspective, but from a player's perspective with the players, I feel even more for them.
Yeah, because we were kind of talking off camera before we kind of went live. This was your first season as a newly formed club,
Yeah,
so to get that togetherness right from the get go and to have such a successful season, I can kind of I can understand why there is a little bit of disappointment. Although if the revised leagues are to be confirmed at the AGM, obviously you guys will be promoted along with Elmswell, which I suppose ultimately is the main goal. But there is that tinge of disappointment because, as I said, for a first season, it's been fantastic, and as a newly formed club.
yeah, certainly. I mean, the idea was to obviously go through the leagues and win them.
Mm.
That's the point of why we're involved. It's first and foremost to enjoy our football. I think that's the biggest thing, which we've all been able to do quite well this year, which was enjoy our football, and from that bred the success on the pitch.
Mm.
Yeah, we're going to be promoted most likely, but it's the unfortunate part is we're not going to be necessarily promoted as champions. That's not going to go down next to our name within the first season, which would have been a nice thing to do, to receive a cup or a trophy or something else like along those lines as well.
Mm.
It would have really put Melton kind of back on the map after it folded about 8 years ago. But it doesn't mean that we go up to Div 2 and that we don't have the success again. It just would have been nice to have had that in place, and it would have been nice to have been able to finish off something which we started,
Yeah.
and been able to have the opportunity to be able to do so as well.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe it might be something that it's probably not going to be at the top of everyone's agenda list like the AGM, but maybe that is something that can be suggested as a way of a recognition. Whoever it was at his top is still officially made, to be the champions. I don't know. It might be something that maybe, I don't know, somebody from the club raises, or might be something that other teams in other divisions might want to happen as well. Because, looking at it from your perspective and then looking at it at the other end, which is Crane's perspective, they're going to be annoyed that they haven't been crowned champions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hat off to Cranes, a great club with some great players over there, many of whom I know like really, really well from over the years.
Yeah.
They've had an unbelievable season, and they deserve that recognition just as much as any club that has been at the top of the table throughout the season and stayed there.
Yeah.
There's other clubs who've done really well who will probably be moved up, like Ransoms as well. They've had a really good season. I know Ben over there, the manager. He's put a lot of work into establishing a really, really well-run club, as well as Patterston as well. They've also done really, really, really well throughout this season, and also deserve their success. But unfortunately, and unless there's more to come from it, I just feel like some of the communication between the FA, the SIL, has been really kind of limited, and they've put stuff out, but they haven't really kind of given any kind of indication as to what specifically could be happening. There hasn't been enough dialogue, as in from what would we like to happen and how would we propose to make things work.
Right.
Because all in all, yes, we understand there are guidelines. All in all, yes, we understand that there are obviously safety elements and things like that, but ultimately, as players, as people, it's our choice if we want to kind of engage in the sport and things which we love to do and give up freely on a Saturday or Sunday when some other people play,
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. No, I'd probably agree with that. I have to admit, I've been actively looking for different headlines and different news and, any sort of updates, but
I've only had stuff sent to me by other people, not actually anything to do with the SIO itself. So I mean, I've been scrapping around for information, so I can only imagine how sort of frustrating it must be for
Yeah. Well, a
you
lot of
guys
it's
if you
just
haven't heard
hearsay.
anything.
But a lot of it is just hearsay, and it's all good and well with some proposals, but again, we as a club, as clubs, should be informed. There should be some sort of dialogue prior to the AGM, prior to the meeting, so that when you go into it, people already have an understanding of where clubs are standing. This
Yeah,
saves time. This saves, I suppose, unnecessary conversations and potential conflict, because you already understand prior to where people are at and where their mindsets are.
yeah,
So then when you look at the proposals, it's actually taken on board everything that everybody said kind of beforehand, so that then the thinking can then be more in line with the majority of the clubs, because ultimately you have to go with the majority.
yeah, definitely. Well, maybe it's something for them to think about for future communication. I don't know, but yeah, wouldn't argue with anything you've really said there, to be honest. Let's kind of go back then to last season. Now, this was obviously your first campaign as a manager.
Hmm.
Now, I know you've been doing that in a joint capacity, which is something that seems to be quite popular now, joint managers rather than a traditional 1 and 2
Yeah.
side of it. But for you, who has been in the SIL, for a long time, has been a player in that capacity, how have you found management? What have been the pluses and what have been the real difficulties? If you have, that you've kind of experienced where you thought, actually, looking at things now, I was probably like that as a player. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? I think the biggest difference between being a manager and a player is obviously you get to call the shots.
Mm,
So, so as a player, I'm sure many people who have played against me, will probably tell you that I'm very vocal. I always
right.
have an opinion for something, um, and so yeah, this is basically it's been my opportunity to input, I suppose, my vision of football, alongside Matt's as well.
So
To
sorry, just to butt in, from that respect, do you think it was crucial that you have been running the club as well? Do
Yeah,
you think that's
because
been an important thing rather than having other people telling you what they expect from you and then you then having to deliver that in your
yeah,
first management role?
literally, Matt and I are. I'm also chairman of Melton United. Matt
Right,
is the treasurer and secretary for Melton United as well. So we literally cover all the roles and responsibilities between us,
wow,
and so we oversee basically the from top to bottom of everything within the club. So we know everything that's happening
right,
within the club, so that we can then deliver the right kind of messages to the players.
right,
Um, and I think by having that kind of control, it helps us then to kind of plan more effectively,
sure,
and plan um, more strategically as well,
right,
in terms of where we want to kind of be, not just kind of for now, but hopefully in the next kind of few seasons as well.
mm,
So this is also another reason why, not being able to get to certain, like the final, for example, from a sponsorship point of view, have been a great thing for our sponsors, to have been involved and to have been able to kind of see things,
yeah,
and then be able to draw in new sponsors as well.
mm,
Because if you've got a success like that, then you can obviously ride the wave off it to
yeah,
draw new sponsors and that in, because you've got that kind of president behind you as well.
yeah, definitely. So management wise, then obviously
Yeah,
I
management.
can imagine management and running a team. That must be a hell of a challenge. How have you found it all?
To be honest, I've got a fantastic bunch of players, and So by having a great group of lads, by having a great group of friends, it makes this transition quite easy. I
Right.
think it's a lot harder to go into something like this when it's like a brand new team. You don't really know many people. You've got to kind of figure out people's games and things like this. A lot of the lads who I've played, who I manage and work with now, I've known them for years.
Right. Right.
And I know their games, and I've played with them for years as well. So knowing what their strengths and weaknesses are is already a massive bonus, because I don't necessarily need to kind of see them kind of do a lot within particular games. I will know, where best to kind of utilize people within certain games, and when to kind of pull people out as such.
Sure.
A lot more. I mean, the biggest thing for us, as in I think it is for any team, is getting a goalkeeper. And
Yeah.
such an important position. And to be honest, I made a very potentially risky decision by putting in a person that hasn't played in goal since they were in their teens.
Right.
So James Colchester, of 13 Fitness, who's one of our sponsors as well. He's struggled over the last couple of seasons at AFC Kesgrave with his ankle injuries, and so as he's a PT, he couldn't risk kind of seriously injuring himself. So he opted to want to go play in goal.
Right.
So I said, okay, well, let's see what you're like, and let's see how things are. And to be honest, he's done an amazing job. His distribution, his ability to talk from the back never shuts up. All
You
of
want
those
that from a
things.
keeper, though, don't you? 100%.
Exactly, and plus he knows all the people in front of him, and they know him, and so it's been a learning curve to get some of the rhythm and stuff in the early part of the season. But as the season's gone on, the guys have looked stronger and stronger throughout. So from a management perspective, the guys have been brilliant. They've made essentially the hardest part of the transition a lot easier.
Yeah.
But essentially now it's looking ahead and looking to bring in some younger, some fresher youngsters through that will help us to kind of sustain our success while sustaining the players who we've got, because I think that's important. And trying to kind of keep everybody happy where we can.
Yeah. Have you found any sort of difficulties with looking to kind of bring players in at this point, because there's still the uncertainty that we don't know who's going to be in what league? It hasn't been confirmed yet. We don't know when the season's going to be starting. All of these kind of obstacles for you in your first, I say, summer to kind of recruit and really get some people on board. Have you found any challenges with that at this point?
Yes and no, because obviously people are still kind of unsure where they're at.
Right.
I look at other clubs who have made some good acquisitions, who have added some good quality to their staffing structure. So, shout out to Wickham Market.
Yes.
They've done some really good recruitment, and I expect them essentially to be winning the Div 1 next year with their recruitment. They've really strengthened that spine of their team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but when you look at certain other players, you look at certain other certain types of quality which you're looking for. It's not always available. And when the thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to disrupt the harmony of our team, because that's very important. That's one of the reasons why we have our success. Because we have a very balanced team. But I'm also aware of the age of our team as well.
Right.
So there needs to be a gradual transition of younger players coming in so they can work with the more experienced players who we have as well.
Yeah.
And the lads, they understand that, they are aware of it, but just like anybody, they don't want to give up their positions. They don't want to be sitting on the bench. They don't want to be doing those things because they have families and things which they could be doing and could be spending time with as well. So again, it is getting that balance, and it is a bit tricky trying to find the right people. And there are some players who we've certainly had our eye on, but again, it is whether or not we can get them in.
Yeah, and I suppose normally at this point of the season, you'd be going, right, well, we're going to be starting pre-season in maybe a week or so's time.
Yeah.
That's then our opportunity to then look at these guys properly, invite them in for training sessions and see what they're about. But at the moment, when you're in groups of 6, do you focus on the people that you've got with you now, or do you start focusing on the people you want to be bringing in? It's getting that balance, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I think for us, we've got such a strong unit, such a strong core, that it doesn't matter what league we're playing in. This isn't being arrogant. This isn't being cocky or whatever else. We were never a Div 3 team. A lot of our players could play senior. A lot of our players could easily play Div 1.
Right.
For me, there's no coincidence as to why we had our success like what we did.
Yeah.
A lot of people may have written us off in pre-season when Elmswell destroyed us 11-2 or 11-3 or something like that. And it probably didn't look good on paper, but it was more of a matter of a lot of players weren't available. We had 40-something players signed on. So without having a reserve team.
Yeah.
And so what that meant was we've always got a core of top quality players to draw upon as and when. But during pre-season, we were lacking a lot of those players. So the results kind of didn't kind of show or reflect where the true quality was.
Yeah.
All in all, though, I think moving forward, it is important to keep the core and to add one or two. We have already added a couple of players who have already said they will come join us,
right?
And who I know will certainly make us a more potent attacking team, even though we're already quite handy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll kind of wish you all the best for next season. I think with everything that has been sent over to me and been suggested, I think it will be in Div 2, and I hope it is, because obviously that is what you guys deserve from last season. So whatever league you're in, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Div 2, but I hope and wish you all the best for the upcoming season. And hopefully it can be one that we can see right through to the end, because that's what that's what you guys will want, as I suppose some sort of retribution for what happened this season. But I hope it goes well for you.
To be honest, from what I've seen in terms of the proposal of the Div 2, I actually think it's probably going to be the most competitive league out of all the leagues.
Really?
Yeah, because you've got potentially AFC Kesgrave who have come down, which will be an interesting encounter, considering quite a few of our players have come from them from the previous season. You've got I think Brantford Road Old Boys, who had a great season themselves, who were really unfortunate not to get promoted, potentially not to get promoted themselves. You've got there
the list that I have, and that I've just, for anyone watching, this is what I've been told. So don't necessarily quote me on this, but I've got AFC Your Shirts, Brantford Road Old Boys, Cockfield United, obviously yourself and Elmswell promoted, Ipswich Athletic, Curtin Athletic, Saxmundham, and then you've got Stonham, Tackett Street, BBOB, Ufford Sports, Wolverstone United, and then Thurston and Somersham stay in the division because they're not doing any relegations from what I've seen. So
that's a fact. A lot of teams.
There's some tough teams in there as well.
That's what I mean, and that's what I'm saying. In terms, that's why I think it's going to be a very competitive, one of the more competitive leagues, because you've got some teams in there who, like AFC Yorkshire were Primary Cup winners 2 seasons ago. So they've certainly shown they have quality in their field. Cockford, I think they've got one of the top strikers who've been around. He's scoring goals for fun. Doesn't ever seem to want to leave there, but yeah, it is one of those things. I do think it could be a very, very, very interesting team. Elmswell as well. We know Elmswell really well.
Yeah.
And no doubt they will be recruiting hard to kick on, because like them, like AFC, potential teams, as such, within that setup, they will want to be pushing for that top 2 position to go up. Brantford Old Boys, again, really unfortunate to kind of miss out. And I think that they only really missed out because they had a load of games in hand.
Yeah.
So had they actually been able to play those games in hand, they potentially, more than likely, would have probably gone up.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think them and possibly Sporting and maybe a few others are going to be some of those who are going to be contesting this at the AGM. So obviously this is not set in stone by any stretch, but I think, there are going to be teams like that who are going to say, well, hang on a minute. If we were allowed to finish the season, then... So who knows? Who honestly knows? But as I said, whatever league you guys are in, hopefully it goes well for you and you can continue the success that you've had in what has been an unbelievable opening season. You've done amazingly well. So, congratulations and well done on it. I hope hopefully things can be sorted out relatively soon. You know where you stand.
Perfect.
All right, mate. Thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate your time. If you guys have enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel. But until next time, as always, adios.